And now, Philipsburg Broadcasting proudly presents Good Morning, Mr. Governor, with Francis Carty.
Good morning, Mr. Governor. The road ahead of us will be long and narrow. Whether we want to listen to the truth or not, the pathway from the culture of corruption to our ready acceptance of globally accepted practices of integrity will be a long and narrow road of suspicions, deceptive game playing, and to be quite honest, a game of playing one island against the other and the Netherlands. But we have no other choice but to stop dealing with the Dutch the way we were accustomed to deal with them. Because, 1, the Dutch have already branded us as a hopeless bunch of crooks. 2, even within our present composition of our parliament, there is no doubt about change because the only way that they know how to legislate is by being greedy rather than being service-oriented. And 3, the more we know about our Dutch counterparts, the more we recognize that they are not in tune with our specific needs, but rather what they want us to become without any regards of our culture, legacy, and development objectives. We are branded as a hopeless bunch of crooks. Over the past 3 to 5 years, we have witnessed how our creative civil servants have used their position of trust to enrich themselves with government's money against the general interests of the very people that elected them to serve their general interests and needs, and this must end immediately, because we can never be wrong and strong at the same time. The recent devastations by hurricanes and the economic consequences of the coronavirus COVID-19 have illustrated that we have to become more frugal both in managing our limited resources as well as the way we collect our earned income taxes. We can no longer play politics with these realities because we must place competent local professionals in position of responsibilities to manage these important tasks of government. Members of Parliament should be elected to serve rather than to loot. Do we want to subscribe to the truth or not? The motivation to become a candidate for the country's parliament should be based on past services in the community rather than from past popularity that is used to plunder the public coffers. The definition of greed tells us that greed is the desire to have more of something, such as food or money, than is necessary. God knows that we don't need any more plunderers in our government. The Dutch members of Parliament don't know, and they don't want to know more about the Dutch Windward Islands. Historically, the Dutch Windward Islands were never part of the Dutch influence. It has always been Curaçao, Aruba, and Bonaire. The Dutch Windward Islands were always an afterthought, and that benign neglect is so obvious whenever there is a difference of opinion between Holland and Sint Maarten. This can no longer continue because it is not sustainable. Therefore, we as people from Sint Maarten will have to take substantial action steps to make up for this obvious Dutch disinterest. There is an obvious recognition that economics is the issue and job creation is the answer and private enterprise interactions rather than public sector bureaucracy is the way forward that we wish to move. We have already seen what happens when the Dutch appoint the World Bank and IMF to intercede in our developments, public or private. Our worst enemy is time. But as we phase into our normalcy and our concentration on the upcoming 2020 hurricane season until November 2020, we have some months to work out what needs to be done and how we will get them done together. With Dutch elections coming up, what we need is for Holland to get a government that understands and wants to work with us. We need a more responsible approach to meet the many challenges ahead, because what we have now is not only too subjective, but also too unsustainable for our development. Good morning, Mr. Governor.
That was Good Morning, Mr. Governor by Francis Carty.